go ahead, scroll. This video isn't for you, because to watch this, you'd have to accept something uncomfortable. You'd have to accept that no villain in history ever believed they were the villain. Not dictators, not criminals, not even the person who broke your trust. And here's the part you probably won't like. If you had their childhood, their fears, their pain, their beliefs, you might have done the exact same thing. But relax. You're different, right? You've never justified something you knew was wrong. You've never blamed the situation. You've never told yourself, I had no choice. Right? That's why this video might disturb you, because today, we're not analyzing villains. We're analyzing you. Why do human beings never see themselves as the bad guy? And if you stay till the end, you might never look at your own decisions the same way again. Let's break down the psychology of morality.
You might want to skip this part, because this is where your brain gets exposed. There's a reason you sleep peacefully at night, even after doing something you once said you'd never do. It's called cognitive dissonance, and it's one of the most powerful defense systems ever discovered. Psychologist Leon Festinger explained it like this: when your actions don't match your beliefs, your mind feels psychological pain, not physical pain, identity pain. Imagine this: you believe you are honest, but one day you lie. Not a huge lie, just a necessary one. Now your brain faces a silent war. I am honest. I just lied. Both cannot be true at the same time, and your brain hates contradictions. So what does it do? It doesn't say, maybe I'm not as honest as I thought. No, that would damage your identity. Instead, it rewrites the script. I had no choice. It was for a good reason. Anyone would have done the same. See what just happened? You didn't change your character. You changed the story. And here's the terrifying part. You don't even realize you're doing it. This is why people cheat and still feel loyal. Why people hurt others and still feel righteous. Why arguments feel justified on both sides. Because the mind would rather bend reality than bend identity. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. How many of your past decisions were actually choices, but you labeled them as circumstances? Take your time, because if you truly understand this mechanism, you'll start catching your brain in the act. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. And trust me, we're going even deeper next. This is the part most people deny, because this is where good people do bad things and still sleep peacefully. You probably think you could never harm someone intentionally. Of course not. You have values, standards, morals, right? Psychologist Albert Bandura discovered something disturbing. It's called moral disengagement, and it explains how ordinary people temporarily switch off their moral compass without even noticing. Not criminals, not psychopaths, normal people, like you, like me. Here's how it works. First, we change the language. It's not stealing, it's borrowing. It's not lying, it's protecting. It's not manipulation, it's strategy. Notice what happened? The action didn't change. The label did, and labels control emotions. Second, we shift blame. They deserved it. They started it. I had no choice. Now the responsibility moves away from you. Clean hands, clear conscience. Third, we compare ourselves to something worse. At least I'm not as bad as them. At least I didn't go that far. Suddenly, you look reasonable, and just like that, your moral system goes offline, temporarily, silently, efficiently. This is how people gossip without feeling cruel, cheat without feeling disloyal, hurt someone without feeling like the villain. Because moral disengagement doesn't remove your morals, it just pauses them. Let me ask you something dangerous. Have you ever softened a word to make your action feel lighter? Have you ever said, they deserved it, just to quiet your guilt? Don't answer quickly, because once you recognize this pattern in yourself, you'll start noticing it everywhere, in arguments, in politics, in history, and maybe in the mirror. And we're still not at the deepest layer yet. You won't like this one, because this is where the illusion breaks. Every single person on this planet lives inside a story, not a real story, a mental one. And in your story, you're not the side character. You're not the background role. You're the hero, the misunderstood one, the strong one, the justified one. And here's the rule of every story ever written. The hero is never the villain. Even when two people fight, both walk away believing they were defending themselves. Both believe they were right. Both replay the argument in their head with edits. And that's the key word, edits. Because your memory is not a camera.
It's an editor. Research shows memory is reconstructive. That means every time you remember something, you slightly rewrite it. You remove the parts where you looked selfish. You soften the parts where you overreacted. You highlight the parts where you were reasonable. And slowly, you become the hero of every conflict. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. Have you ever replayed an argument and noticed you always sound calmer in your memory than you probably were? Have you ever told a story where you looked completely justified, but somehow the other person looked irrational? That's not coincidence. That's narrative protection. Your brain protects your identity by editing your past. Because if you truly saw yourself as the unreasonable one, your hero story would collapse. And without that story, who are you? That's why villains don't exist in their own minds. They're just heroes in a different narrative. Now here's the dangerous realization. If everyone is the hero of their own story, then who is actually the villain? Think about that. And don't leave yet, because the final layer explains why realizing this might be the most powerful thing you ever do.
If you've made it this far, this is where it gets dangerous. Because up until now, it was about you. Now it's about us. There's one force stronger than your personal morals, stronger than your guilt, stronger than your logic. Belonging. It's called group morality. The moment you identify with a group, religion, nation, political side, friend circle, your moral compass slowly starts sinking with theirs. Not because you're weak, because you're human. If your group says something is justified, your guilt decreases. If your group says someone is the enemy, your empathy decreases. And here's the terrifying part. You don't feel evil, you feel loyal. History proves this again and again. Ordinary people participated in harmful systems not because they woke up wanting to hurt others, but because they believed they were protecting their people, defending their values, serving a higher good. Belonging feels righteous, and righteousness is addictive. Now pause for a second. Think about the strongest belief you hold, your political opinion, your religious view, your social stance. What if you're not defending the truth? What if you're defending your identity? That's the uncomfortable truth. So, are we all villains? No. That answer would be too simple. The real truth is more unsettling. Humans are not villains. Humans are experts at self-justification. We protect our identity at all costs. We fear shame more than we fear being wrong. And that's why real moral growth begins with one terrifying question. What if I'm wrong? Not, what if they're wrong? What if I'm wrong? Very few people ask that. Even fewer sit in the silence after asking it. Because the most dangerous people in the world are not the ones who know they're evil. It's the ones who are absolutely convinced they are right. And maybe, the moment you start questioning your own certainty, the moment you catch your bias, your narrative edits, your moral disengagement, your group loyalty, that's the moment you stop being controlled by them. That's the moment you become conscious. And maybe, that's the moment you become more human. Now the real question is, after knowing all this, will you still see yourself as the hero without question? Or will you dare to examine the story? That choice is yours.